What's going on, growers? It's James Pigioni coming to you live from Jersey. Now that spring is here, everything's starting to wake up. Not only the flowers and the fruit trees, but also the bugs. When it comes to bugs, there's some that we want to encourage to have in the garden. Others we could do without. So today I want to bring you with me as I harvest some local praying mantis, ones we want in the garden. Let's go! Before I take all of you along with me on the journey to grab some praying mantis nests, I just wanted to show you some of them that I have in the garden. So I'm going to grab some today. I'm not going to grab a bunch of them, just a few to put in the new food forest. But I wanted to show you, if you guys didn't see in the how to prune a peach video, some of the nests we already have in here. So usually the nests typically will be on the ground on some lower stuff, on some of your annuals and things like that. But this year they actually went up into the trees. So there's one up there. I'll do a zoom for you in the apple tree. And then we've also got another one pretty local to that right over here in the peach tree. So I'll give you a zoom on that one too. As you can see, I haven't finished pruning this peach tree yet, but I want to take advantage of today because it's so beautiful to go out there and harvest some local praying mantis nests, because it's just so much fun to get out there. I find it to be really enjoyable to look and search for them. And I have a local spot that I usually go to. I brought some of you along with me, and I just wanted to bring you along again, just as a reminder, but also for some of the new people here. And a lot of times they'll be in these hazelnuts because they got that thick branching, relatively low to the ground, but I don't see any this year. So let me grab a few nests and I'll bring you with. So I'm driving over now, and there are websites where you could order the praying mantis nests, but I like going out and get them myself because I feel like they're gonna be better acclimatized and acclimated to this local environment. And you saw my garden, those ones that I had in there. I didn't put those in this year, and I put a couple in last year, but even before that I had ones in the garden. And it was about maybe 6 years ago or so now that I went out and got my first nests, and they've just been coming back every year. So I think it's going to be a good idea for me to go and get these and bring them into the new food forest. That's one of the main reasons I'm doing it. And again, you could order your own, but I think this is just part of the adventure, part of the whole gardening experience. And that's one of the things that I love about gardening in general. It's just changed my whole perspective and my philosophy on life and stuff. It's made me see things from a different perspective, and it's allowed me to kind of get in touch and be a part of nature and work with it rather than feeling so separated from the natural world all the time. And I just love going out there now, getting my hands dirty, planting the seeds, watching the birds, and creating homes for all different kinds of living things, little safe havens. So sometimes it could be unfortunate when rabbits and things eat a lot of your food, but also it's a good feeling knowing that they're getting some food and that you're actually not like fighting against those things. You get to be a part of them. It's also permaculture too has really changed the way I see things. When I'm driving down the street and roads and things, in my area there's a lot of advertisements. So I used to, see a lot of those advertisements, those signs. Now when I'm driving down the streets, I'm looking at all the different trees, all the things we have growing. And just this year I noticed through the winter I found 2 hazelnuts. I was seeing all the catkins hanging from the trees, so I spotted those. Then coming up when my apples and stuff start to bloom, we've got those pink blossoms, so I'm always searching out for apple trees. A couple years ago, I was driving by and I saw a huge apple tree on someone's property, loaded with apples. So I went, I knocked on their door. I just kind of told them I was into gardening, I love this stuff, and asked if I could have some apples. I'd pay for them. They were happy about it. They gave me apples, and then they showed me around their whole property where they had some raspberries and all different things growing. And I think that's another great thing about gardening is the community that's built. So us gardeners, we always have something in common with other gardeners. And one of the things I feel about us gardeners is we love sharing our garden. We love sharing our passion with others. That's one of the things that drove me to start this channel, is the love to share and the love to, just be a part of something bigger maybe than even just this community, but being a part of all nature in general and growing to love it more and more. We have arrived at the location. I want to share with you the setting and talk about a few attributes that could help. Maybe you guys can find a similar place. And one thing about it that's big is we've got the bay back there. So this is almost like a marshland, and this is like a border. Bill Mollison talks about this, or an edge, he calls it, where 2 systems kind of meet, where we've got like the dry land here and then we've also got the water in the back. So this is an edge, and an edge is going to be your most productive part of any system. So we've got plenty of insects working in here, and a lot of praying mantis nests as a result. Here's one right here. I know just over here I saw a few more. Straight ahead, there's one right there. As I go a little more to the right, I know there are a few more I saw as I just took a quick browse over here. So maybe that's something you want to look for, a place that has some of these common attributes. What you want to do is basically put yourself in the shoes or the situation of these praying mantis. You're going to want to be where there's plenty of insects. So that's what I thought about. I came to this place once locally. I was driving by because it's actually just right by a main road. And it's right next to a restaurant. I know the owners. This is private property, so I'm allowed to be on here. And I want to talk a little bit about the praying mantis as I grab some of these. But just a note also, I've made the mistake in the past, but we've got a lot of poison ivy and poison oak in here. So make sure you're covered, you've got gloves on, because you may get the praying mantis nest, but find out you're a little itchy the next day. Not fun. And I'm a professional at getting poison ivy. I've got it many times, just not even paying attention enough, getting too excited being out here. I've got my gloves on here, some nice quality surgical gloves, and no skin showing, which is going to be a big help. A few things about praying mantis nests and praying mantis themselves. So these nests will have about up to 400 praying mantis in them, which is pretty amazing. The females lay these in like late fall, and they lay these and then they die. So they live for one season. So I think that's a good lesson in itself to us to take advantage. I mean, what if you only had one spring, one summer? So I think we got to take advantage of the time that we do have. But these mantises, they only eat other insects, which is important. So when you put them in a location, you want to make sure you put them in a spot where they're going to have enough food to eat. Because if they don't have enough food when they're young, they'll start to predate and they'll actually eat each other. So that's important. Also, when you put them in your garden, you want them at least a foot off the ground, because there's other things, mice and stuff, that are going to come in and eat them because they're a high protein source. So that's important as well. So I want to make sure that I'm not taking too many here. I already have some in my garden. I just mainly came out here to share with you guys just the spot I find them at, and also to give you guys that reminder again. So I'm going to come in here, cut I think 2 of them out, bring them into my new food forest. That should be enough. Again, I don't want to take more than I have to. I'm going to go over and cut this one out right here, and you'll notice I'm going to cut the whole branch because we want to make sure we can stick that on the ground. We're not just going to pick it off. You'll notice I cut it about a foot or 2. This way when I get back to the garden, I could just stick it in the ground and I'll leave it like that. It'll hatch out. And one thing to note also is you don't want to put them too close to each other, because like I said, they will eat each other if they don't have enough food. And I like to put it next to things that wake up kind of early. And I've also heard that these can withstand forest fires, so they're pretty amazing. And to give you a decent look of what it looks like, I'll show you here. And I gave you a couple of zooms as well. And again, really important to get these in the garden to make sure that they're up off the ground a little bit, and not too many. You really don't want too many in one location. I like to have about 2 to 3 to a garden. I notice that's how many usually are left based on my size. So you're just gonna have to judge that on your own. I've read up to like 10 an acre, but again, to scale that down, you're just gonna have to do your own math. You don't want too many in there. Again, it gave me a good idea of how many are good for my location, because I know that there's 2 or 3 in my garden right now. I'm just gonna grab this one more and bring it back to the garden. Bring it to their new home. I think they're gonna like the new home. There's gonna be plenty of bugs and different things for them to enjoy. We're gonna give them a good place. I found ones that looked relatively large, looked pretty healthy. So here's the other one here. Like I said, they're gonna like their new place, and as you can see, nothing better than coming out here, harvesting them locally. And I found that once you notice one of them, you started to develop an eye for it, and you just see them everywhere. So it may take a little while to find one, but if you find one, there's probably a lot more locally, and you'll start to train your eye to be able to see it real easily. Just left with the praying mantis nest. A successful trip. Fun time to get out there again on this beautiful day. But going back to what I was saying about growing to love it more and more, that's what a lot of this channel is about too. Not only just gardening, but growing in general. It doesn't matter if you're on a porch and you only have a little amount of space. You can still learn, you can still grow in understanding and knowledge This way, when an opportunity opens for you, you'll be ready for it. And it doesn't have to be just growing plants. It can be just growing as a person in general. I think that's important. That's something we should always strive for. And I think if we're faithful with the little we're given, then more will be given to us. For instance, when I first started, it was a small little round garden I had, and then as I took advantage of that situation, I was able to expand even more and more. And I'm not on my dream property, but I try not to be selfish because I know there's a lot of people who would love to have the space that I have. But my goal is ultimately to get on at least 10 acres. But I think it was Emerson who said something like, everything comes to you kind of in the perfect moment when you're ready for it. That's just a paraphrase, but that's kind of the meaning of what he said. And I believe that. I believe that, I guess, well, the reason I don't have that property yet is because I'm not ready for it. So I think if I continue to grow as a person, not just in gardening, but growing, I think when I'm ready, the opportunity will open up, and I have faith in that. So I want to encourage everyone out there. It doesn't matter if you don't have a space, like I said, you can still be growing, you can still be learning, you can still be tasting some of your own food, and just that little bit, that might encourage you to put the extra work in whatever you need to do to get that space. Maybe even if you just go knocking on people's doors, making a deal with them saying, hey, can I grow in your backyard? We'll split the food, something like that. I just got back to the house. One thing some of you on Steam It will notice is I'm wearing one of the same sweatshirts I just wore recently in a post on there. And one of the reasons I'm wearing it is because this sweatshirt inspires me. It's Polyface Farm. That's Joel Salatin, and he's one of my main encouragements to even get this way of life started with his documentary Fresh. I made a whole video on it before. So every time I put this sweatshirt on, it I don't know, it gets me going. So I love wearing it. And I'm working on something myself actually. And I hope it's something that when you guys put it on, it'll inspire you. It'll encourage you to get out there, to get some work done and to get moving. Just as I expected right when I come back, the true MVP is waiting for me, head of guarded security, right at the fence. There he is. Hey, Tuck. I wish I could have brought him with me, but it was tough. I didn't want to bring him out there with all the poison ivy, and also I knew I was going to be busy, focused on what I was doing, so I didn't want him to run into the main road or anything. Tuck's already in the new food forest, making sure everything's all good. Got these two nests here. Sounds like Savannah, the chicken, wants to be on film for a minute, singing over there. Such a good chicken. Still got to get those blueberries in. I'll be doing that soon. Let me know if you guys want to see that. So I decided a good spot would be I'm going to put one of each nests into the strawberry row. So I think that'll provide a good amount of food for him early. So we'll stick the one in. Hard to do with one hand. So we'll get this one in, right in the center. Looks about good there. And then I'll take this one and I'll put it in the other row of strawberries. This one, I should have cut a little longer. I don't know if that's high enough off the ground. So I may put a stick in and just kind of attach it to it. This way it's, again, high, so nothing comes in and tries to predate and eat these things. I want to make sure they still have a good life, even though I moved their home for them. I think they can have a better life here. Maybe I'll try to stick it in upside down, actually. Yeah, I'll crack a piece of that off and then stick it in. There we go, I just broke it there so it's a little stronger. And we'll stick this right in the middle. That looks pretty good. And I'll prune that off there. So, looking pretty good. What do you think, Tuck? Successful day. That's today's video, growers. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. A little different than some of my other videos. Most of them take place not only on this property, but in the food forests. So we switched things up. I had a lot of fun doing it. I hope you guys did also. If you found value in the video, so funny, Savannah's over there singing still. If you found value in the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share with your friends, and don't forget to get out there, harvest some of your own praying mantis, and take advantage of these beautiful days like this. So me and Tuck will be back at your roof soon. We